Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the monthly webinar organized by IC Squad Colombo Sri Lanka chapter in association with ISACA Sri Lanka chapter. We welcome both international and local participants attending this webinar. Let's go through today's agenda. A brief introduction about IC Squad, then certifications offered by IC Squad, about the local chapter, and finally about the speaker. The International Information Systems Security Certification Consortium, or IC Squad, is a non-profit organization which specializes in training and certifications for cybersecurity professionals. It is described as the world's largest IT security organization. IC Squad IC Squad offers world-class certifications including CISSP, Certified Information Systems Security Professional, which is considered the gold standard in security certification. In addition to that, they offer CCSP, Certified Cloud Security Professional, and for software developers, Certified Security Software Lifecycle Professional, CSSLP. All these certifications are vendor neutral certifications. This is the global distribution of IC Squad members. There are over 150,000 members worldwide and 18,000 members in Asia Pacific. ISC Squad credential holders occupy key positions in the organization like Chief Security Officers, Chief Information Officers, System Engineers, Security Managers, etc. IC Squad Colombo Sri Lanka chapter was formed in October 2011 by a few key members holding CISSP credential. We had blessings from Sri Lanka CERT to form the chapter. We had all of our monthly meetings, chapter monthly meetings at Sri Lanka CERT with support from Mr. Lal Das, who is the CEO of Sri Lanka CERT. These are our key officials and board members. They hold key positions in their respective organizations. As you can see, each member, board member and key official hold respective positions, key positions in their organizations. From the inception of ISA Squad Colombo Sri Lanka chapter, we had over 70 monthly presentations covering topics in information security. These include cryptocurrency, cloud security, cyber forensics, etc. Most of these presentations were conducted by our own chapter members. These are our membership statistics. You can see a steady growth in the membership count in the recent years. You can also become a member of ISIS Colombo Sri Lanka chapter. There are two membership categories depending on whether you are a CISSP credential holder or not. They are associate member and full member. Download and complete the membership application form available on our website, and you can mail it to our membership director. The email address is mentioned in the slide, membership@ic2colombochapter.com. We have launched our new and improved website located at www.ic2colombochapter.com. And thanks to Sithre Hewarachi for his hard work developing this site. So you can connect with us through these links, the social media links and other URLs. So you can keep connected to ic2colombochapter.com. So I invite Sithra ISACA chapter president Sithra Wanyarachi to explain about the CP process and the ISACA certifications.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to ISACA Sri Lanka chapter as well as the ISA 2 monthly webinar. And small introduction about the session as well as how the CP process will work. All the ISACA Sri Lanka chapter as well as international participants who have registered through the links, and you will be, if you have included your membership details, we will be automatically uploading all your CPs to your portal. And it's based on your participation, and we will be monitoring how many minutes you will be logged into the session and the interaction between the presenter. If you have the questions, you can raise the questions, and that will be monitored. And at the end of the session, give us about 2 to 3 days, your CPs will be automatically uploaded to your personal sites. As well as anyone, and if you have any questions, what we can do, we have the Q&A session, we have the Q&A button. So you can give your questions posted there. The presenter will answer all the questions at the end of the session. And if you have any technical difficulties, you can send through the chat so we can attend to that as well. And to tell about ISACA certifications, we have been in Sri Lanka for about 25 years, and in the international, we have been 50 years completed last year. And these are our main certifications we have. That is a certified information system auditor, mainly focusing on what information system auditors. Then we have the certified in risk and information control system, mainly focusing on the risk professionals in the industry, as well as we have a certified information security manager, mainly focusing on what information security managers. Then the certificate called CGIT is mainly for the certified in the governance of enterprise IT. Enterprise governance, IT governance area, this is focused on that aspect. Then we have a cybersecurity. CSX is a suite of certification. We have the CSX fundamental, then we have the professional as well as the expert level. So the latest certification we have in line certified data privacy solution engineer. On top of that, we have another 3 certification like cybersecurity audit, COVID-19, as well as cybersecurity nexus suite. So if you want to know about any details, ISACA Sri Lanka chapter has 2 accredited trainers. When you have the ISACA certification, only accredited trainer can provide classes. We have the CISA and CISM certified accredited trainers in Sri Lanka to conduct classes. If you have any queries, you can send the details to info@isaca.lk. You can see our website www.isaca.lk. You can go to the ISACA website and you can get the details, as well as we have our Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as Instagram there. So you can get all our event details published in that as well. Kanishka, so we are good. I think we can go ahead with the introduction.
Thank you, Sithira. So it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, Lasantha Priyankara. So he has over 12 years experience in the industry. He's working at London Stock Exchange Group as a manager, security service and support. Prior to that, Lasantha has been working as an IT security consultant for British firm Pentest Limited. Coming from a software engineering background, Lasantha has contributed to a number of open source projects, including Debian, Isuru Linux, SAP, and Metasploit. He's a geek for do-it-yourself projects. So over to you, Lasantha.
Kanishka, can you see my screen and hear me okay?
I can see your video, but not the screen. I can hear you as well.
You can see the screen or you can't?
I cannot see the presentation slides.
Okay.
So now I can see the presentation slides.
Good. Thanks, Kanishka. Hi, everyone. Today I will be talking about the most common approaches we take when we take to security and why it still fails. And then I'll be talking about what are the remediative mechanisms we can take on to fix those mistakes and move forward. What I will not be talking about today is a solution for all of your security problems, a silver bullet or a single product that can fix all of your security problems. Also, for those who know me from before, this is not a technical session, that there won't be any demos. Sorry, guys. Disclaimer, for every organization, the risk appetite is different. So the suggestions I'm going to give you today are varies on the environment you're working on. So what you need to take out of this is to implement adequate security controls to match your needs. When I say adequate, this depends entirely on how your organization look at risks. So that part needs to be done by your end, and I'm providing a guide to get that. Security is getting more and more attention from everywhere. I'm pretty sure you guys, almost all of you, have seen the waves GDPR made in the past months, past year, and CCPA is becoming more popular as well. And even for local context in Sri Lanka, Central Bank has published their own mandate to get financial organization to be more secure, and the controls they should be putting in place. So worldwide, there are more security companies popping up and more security products coming into the market that solves so many different security problems for us. But still, if you look at the last 10 years, the number of security incidents, the breaches, getting more and more. The size of these circles represent how big the breach was, and the single circle represent one breach. So as you can see, when we get closer to 2020, the number of breaches get bigger, and the size of the breach get bigger as well. So security compromises are getting bigger, and regardless the remediative approaches we take, or the products that are out there. So why is this happening when there's so much attention to security, and there's so much products and so much people looking into security? Excuse me. Why are we still getting this many breaches? So let's talk about why things go wrong. To put it simply, to summarize, there are three things that usually go wrong. If you talk about policies are the things that you decide to keep the CIA triad balanced. For example, you make the decision that if the password reset is required in your application, or for the organization, maybe, if a password reset is required, you are sending an SMS to the user with a code that he can use to reset the password. But when we're making that policy decision, are we actually taking into the consideration how secure the GSM network in the country that we are trying to implement that policy in? Also, think about the problems we have with mails. Let's say, this is a purely hypothetical argument, by the way, the mail. Let's say because of the hassle we get with people looking at other people's mail and the data compromises, what if we encrypt every single email that goes back and forth? If we make a policy decision like that, well, then there comes the problem of how to get the spam filters working. So this is one area that security goes wrong. And if we move on to the second area, when we look at the risks that we are exposed to and try to build a threat model on that, we make decisions, and that sometimes go horribly wrong. I'm sure you guys are aware of the CA certification authorities problem we had a while back. I'll talk about the same example in the mechanism section as well. So to put a bit of background on the CA issue, the certification authorities trust each other. So any certificate issued by one authority is trusted by all the other trusted authorities. The problem in that is that the assumption they made in that threat model is everybody is doing the same amount of controls when they're issuing a certificate to one entity. But as you guys may know, a few years back, one of the China's Postal Service certification authority issued a certificate to an untrusted entity, which caused quite a bit of head waves in the news. Another example when it comes to threat model, you guys might have heard there has been a DARPA project called Secure OS. DARPA pulled out all the best and brightest minds from all the top universities, and they put together a team to build a OS that cannot be hacked. Apparently, they guys have done a very good job, and it was pretty secure as well. However, what they didn't think about in the threat model is all they think about in the threat model is the security of the operating system itself. So when they bring in a red team to assess the security of the operating system, red team still managed to get into the operating system. How they did it was they managed to find the physical machine where the source code of the operating system was hosted in a university building, and they managed to get physical access and then install a backdoor in the source code itself. So when we are making decisions, this is example of threat models failing. And finally, the mechanisms, the implementation fails. Biggest example we could talk about in mechanism failure is cryptography. The math is always perfect, but if you look at the last 10 years, that's once a year, there's something goes wrong in cryptography. When we dig deep into it, it's the implementation. It's not the programmers doing a bad job. It's when you're implementing maths into to the programming language, there are mechanism failures happen. That's normal. And going back to the CA story, you guys might remember the SSL strip attack from this gentleman called Moxie Marlinspike. All he had to do to exploit the SSL trust model was to put a null byte in the end of the domain he has registered and put the rest of the domain afterwards. So these things happen. We can't stop all of them. What we can do is to put controls around it. So bottom line is, at any stage, mistakes can happen. It's inevitable. So I'm going to talk in the next slide, the most common approaches taken by security professionals to address these and what are the weaknesses in those as well. Okay, looking at these pictures, they are funny. In hindsight, they are funny, but I'm pretty sure the guys who did those at the time of doing, they were actually putting their hard work into it. But from outside, when we are looking into it, it is funny. Well, in security, we are doing the same thing. We are doing retrofitting. After a security solution or production solution put in place, we bring in security solutions. We try to protect our environment by putting a firewall around it. We try to use antivirus and try to make every bad thing away from the environment. And some of us, we are trying to educate those people who think like that, things that when you've done a pen test once a year, they are secure. And some says to protect the weak coding of their application, they'll put a WAF around it. So these sort of things happen when you start doing retrofitting. But retrofitting is not all bad, because if you are an organization who's starting in security, retrofitting is the first step. You can't get everything included in first go. So the good side of the retrofitting is it is a good first step, but if you're trying to do it in the long run, you will end up in situations like this. Next problem is outsourcing. When it comes to security, outsourcing is happening quite often. I can't refer to the international market, but in Sri Lanka, this is quite popular when it comes to security. Outsource the entire security solution to a reputed organization. So all the alerts comes, all the security alerts will be monitored by a third-party organization. Well, looking at the business side, people think IT can be outsourced, so why can't security? The problem there is when you say outsourcing, that's predominantly is a SOC. When you say we outsource our security, it is a SOC environment. It is a SOC team in an external entity, which is looking at the threat alerts getting in your organization. So those people doesn't have a good understanding of what your network works. All they do is they see an alert, they act on it. And to make things worse, to implement a solution like this, either you need to open a port or a connection from that organization into you, or you need to make a connection from your organization to them to make this connection work. So that becomes another security vulnerability that needs to address separately. So this is, when it comes to outsourcing, setting up a SOC or outsourcing to a SOC is like setting up a burglar alarm and not having a window or door shutters. You will get alerts almost all the time because it's open. So before you get into a SOC or outsourcing solution like a SOC, there are quite a few things that you need to address, which I will be discussing in later slides. And the last bit I want to talk about in outsourcing is the big joke of, we are moving to cloud. Cloud does not fix your security problems. So cloud helps you doing a better job at security, but moving into cloud is a shared responsibility model. You can say, okay, I'm getting everything from these people as a software as a service, and they are responsible for everything that happens. No, when it comes to legal frameworks, every legal framework that is widely known says ultimate responsibility of the data is the business owner's responsibility. For example, let's say you have you got a software as a service from Amazon, and Amazon did something stupid, and all the data that hosted in your application got leaked. So legal bodies will be fining you. You need to bear that cost, and you need to deal with that first. Of course, later you can sue Amazon and get things done and get that fine reimbursed, but ultimately the responsibility is yours. So do not try to outsource the security and try to transfer the risk. Unfortunately, when it comes to risk transference, it doesn't work very well in the security. There have been organizations that offers security insurance, but they went down as soon as they comes in. So try to avoid this approach when you are running long in the security. The next big thing when people try to do when fixing security is throw money at the problem. Well, this happens quite often when you get a big breach or something bad happens outside, and when you are a big organization. The budget you haven't had is miraculously appear when there is a breach happen. So sometimes you are there with a massive amount of money, not to do how to implement anything. Well, in those situations, I myself have been in situations like that. What happens is, well, you have loads of money, you round up all the best players and say, okay, this is the problem we have, give us your request for proposal. Well, those guys are trying to make a sale. They are trying to pitch their security product, and they show all the bells and whistles they have, and these are the features we have, and these are the things we can do. And they do their demo, and they try to show us all the cool tech they have and the features, how easy our lives become. Out of all those solutions, we pick up as the people who are spending money, we pick up one of or few of those tools and say, okay, we are going to use them, and our security will be great. Well, unfortunately, supply get paid. We just bring in a security solution that doesn't do much. That is what happens if you just try to throw money at the problem and hope it'll go away. That's much more to it than just throwing money into the problem. This is like you building a nice house, and now you need a fence. So in your land you have the house. You want to build security around it. You go out buying all the expensive cement, all the metal, expensive good quality ones, and you even buy a CCTV system, and all of them are unloaded in your land, and you think, oh, I'm going to get secure now. No, you need to put those together and make the security solution yourself that fits your requirement. Until you do that, you are not secure. That's one of the biggest mistake people make, even when they have budget to do security. So the other thing that happens when it comes to security is that people make incorrect cost-benefit calculation. When you're trying to implement a solution, it is always about how much is it going to cost me, and what is the yield I'm getting out of it. Security is always a slowing down factor. As security professionals, we need to understand that we will be looked at as people who are trying to slow people down. But we need to make sure people understand it is like getting you to wear a helmet. Of course, security slows down without people being able to go fast as they can, but it is slowing down people in the same way it slows down a biker when they're wearing a helmet and a safety jacket. That's what we need to communicate to those people and make them understand, because yes, without them they can go fast, but if they fell, they'll be damaged badly. So this part, we need to make sure that the project people understand that when it comes to security, we are not just trying to slow you down, we are trying to actually add the value to what you're trying to do. So when it comes to the cost-benefit calculation, people try to do things effectively, and when they try, in the process of them trying to do things effectively, they only try to meet the compliance levels. When they see security as, okay, ticking these boxes are okay, we met the security requirements. We need to change that. As security professionals, we need to make them understand matching the compliance level, matching the minimum requirement is not security. So how can we do that? We need to start getting people to realize that you need to start this as early as in the process, rather than trying to retrofit at the end of the process. So finer details of what I'm going to propose is going to vary vastly based on the environment you're working. One of you could be coming from a development house, one of you could be from a infrastructure service environment, or one of you could be working in a fintech organization. So what I'm trying, the next steps I'm going to describe to you will be needed to translate into your area based on the risk factor that you need to meet. So before absolutely anything, we ourselves as security professionals need to get out of this mindset they won't understand. Because as long as we are in that mindset, of course they won't understand. We should be the people who try to make those people understand. When I say they, I mean people high up from the board level, and the people who do day-to-day IT work, and the people who do business work. So they means everybody that is not InfoSec people. We need to make them understand, we need to make everybody understand that security is important, and this is why. You will be surprised when you get people understand, and when you get people excited about security, the way they behave, the way they look at things change. So before we do anything, the first step, very first step, is we changing our mindset that we are willing to make people convinced that security is important, and we need to completely get out of this mindset that they won't understand. The thing is, nobody wants to do a poor job. Nobody. It's just decision-making going bad. So we need to influence people when they're making decisions. So how can we do that? First off, we need policies and procedures defined. This is the very first step. Without this, none of the other steps going to work. We need to policies defined, and these need to get the backing of the C-level or the director level from the director board. Until we get that policies defined and get their support, any other security activities we are trying to do will be dead in the water. So very first step is to get those policies clearly defined, that this is the expectation. from the policies, we need to break down the procedures depending on the environment they are applying to. The policies in the high up could be saying the patch level need to be adequately maintained. So if you say that to a production level person, he would say, okay, we installed some patches last year, so we are okay. So to avoid things like that, we need to define procedures saying, okay, when they say adequately maintained, the company's risk factor is risk appetite is this, and according to that, we need to patch CVE 8 or above vulnerabilities within 3 days of the patch release. So like that, we need to break it down to the people who are down in the chain. Also, in these procedures, we need to give people exceptions, and we need to think it through how the entire process works and what are the steps that need to be documented for people to not have any ambiguities. Once we have that in place, we can move to planning and deployment. We could get a team that looks at whatever comes into the network and have it analyzed. So if anyone can bring a hardware or a piece of hardware or a software into your organization and introduce it to your network, that's game over for you. Those who attended my previous session, I did a demo on compromising corporate network with a $15 piece of hardware that you can buy from eBay. So we need to be very critical about introducing new hardware or software into the network. We need to check them thoroughly before they are brought in. And we need to have a set of security checklists saying, is this okay? Is this done? Is this checked? Is this handling in acceptable level to our organization? So with a set of checklists, we can start planning and deployment, but as we go along, we need to go as deep as doing architecture reviews and stuff like that. But as a starting point, you could start with a checklist. And then you could start focusing on awareness sessions. Coincidentally, you guys might have heard the news. Last week, SANS Institute got a breach. The cause of the breach is one of the employees falling victim to a phishing attack. SANS being the leading InfoSec training provider and one of their guys getting compromised is a good example of awareness sessions not happening adequately. So as an organization, with all the controls in place, we need to focus on our people. Without the support of the people, without the awareness and the knowledge of the people, all of these security controls mean nothing. So before we get into the monitoring and alerting, we really need to get the policies, planning, and then awareness sessions put in place, Then we can talk about or think about monitoring and alerting. With all of these controls in place, what should we be monitoring? In what events we should be taking actions, and what events should we be not taking any actions? That part I'm going to discuss next. So to start doing that, first you need to draw a baseline. To draw a baseline, first thing you need to do is get an asset inventory. Without a complete asset inventory, all the exercises you are trying to do is going to go waste. Because if you don't know where your hardware, where your switches at, or if somebody gives you an IP address, if you don't know what that does or what is the version running on that, that's bad. So as the very first thing when you're setting up a baseline, you need to do is get all the details you can on your hardware and list them down. What is the host name? What is the IP address assigned to it? What is the version running on it? And when you get that details, you can check it against the vendor and what is the latest version, and between them, what are the security vulnerabilities you have. So the more information you can collect on the environment is better. So as the first step, get your asset inventory sorted. And the next step, when you're doing the baseline is when you're setting up the baseline, this could vary very much based on your environment again, because if you are a development house, people need to try out new things. They need to try with new APIs, new IDEs, or new packages that provide functionalities for them to code less. In an environment like that, you can't put stringent controls as the baseline, because if you do that, you will find yourself making exceptions almost every day. If you have to do exceptions often, then you need to redo your baseline. So think about what is the environment you're working on and set up an adequate baseline that you don't have to make exceptions too often. If you're a fintech organization, you could have very stringent controls that you can not even let people to navigate to any social media sites. So again, as I mentioned earlier, this is very subjective to the environment you are in, and you need to focus on what is the requirement for your security requirement for your organization. So it's not too hard when you're getting into the baseline, because that's already that's the NIST framework, which is freely available. You can do those checks. You can get the document for free and do those checks. And if you're moving into cloud, it's even easier, because in most cloud vendors, you have the NIST hardened images that you can just pick it up and run with it. Then you need to put controls in place, and there should be a balance. If you put too much security into it, it makes the things difficult for you, as I mentioned. It would cause you to change the baseline, make exceptions often, then you'll have to realign the baseline. So when you're setting up the baseline, just try to find that sweet spot that meets the company requirements and provide adequate security. Then when you have a baseline in place, then you need to focus on change management. This is not even information security. This is just good IT. For example, let's hypothetical, let's talk about a 3-man network team. Let's say Alice is the first person from the network team, and Alice comes in and she does hardening on all the network devices and lock things down, allowing only the minimal access, leaving the environment in a perfect condition. Then Bob's comes in the next shift, and some dev guys come in and say, okay, Bob, we need port 8080 open to the entire network. And so we could test our Tomcat instance or whatever. And Bob does that. Then, well, a day or two later, Charlie comes in, and the boss wants to watch CCTV system from his mobile. So Charlie is asked to put a NAT rule in the firewall, so boss can access the CCTV from his mobile. Okay, why do these 3 people do these changes without each other knowing? What are they do that put into a big picture? You guys know Shodan. They execute their crawler every day. So it is the 3 mistakes that put into one big mistake, not 3 mistakes, 3 changes that put into a big mistake, now is publicly available to the entire world. So it is very important that the change one person does is known to the other people before they make a decision on the next change they make. So they can evaluate that, okay, this is what happened in the previous changes. If we do this, it could either break or it could cause a security incident. So having a strong change management is a must. As the next step after setting up the baseline, you need to push people to get a change management process, and this implies implementing patch management too. That together will help you build a better security environment. Well, when it comes to development world, there are solutions like SVN, SVN is old, Git or Microsoft Foundation Server that does the job. So what we need to do is, when it comes to our network or infrastructure, we need to find a way to do the same thing in a different manner. We could use a ticketing system that request a change, and then people can approve, and then you can talk to people when there are ambiguities and make sure nothing goes wrong. So this is again a long process. I'm talking about how to move security into the left. So in the process, you should be thinking about change management, so it is moving to the left. And once you have that, you can think about architecture reviews. So with those controls in place, then you can start thinking, whenever things coming into the network or your environment, how secure they are compared to the internal setup. What will cause if I bring this piece of hardware in? If you bring in a hardware that has about 100 ports open, and 60 of them you don't even know why they're open, then there is a security problem. So when you're thinking about that, you need to have a set of checklists. So if you're bringing something in, you need to follow a checklist saying minimum, a checklist saying what are the ports open, what external domain this one communicates to, does it even need internet, why does it need internet, and is there a break glass procedure if something goes wrong in there, so an attacker could elevate to get access into. Is the database encrypted? If the database is encrypted, how the keys are managed. So you need to have a set of questions minimum as a review before you bring something in. That way you are protecting your environment from a newly introduced threat. So when you're doing that, I want to point out the benefit of that additional benefit that comes with the architecture review, which is when you're having a strong architecture review process, you could even help out the production teams to delay things, because when you're doing your architecture review properly, you are in a very good understanding of the redundant controls you have in place. With the redundant controls, let's say, let's say you get a CVSS 10 vulnerability today. And when you know how the network is set up and what is it exposed to and what other the versions are running on in the environment, you could help the production people recalculate the CVSS value to from basic to environmental, which helps them reduce the CVSS score and give them a little bit more time for the patch. With the base value of 10, if they have to do it within 3 days, according to the policies you have defined yourself, with the environmental score calculation, which brings it down to 7 or 8, they could be having a bit more wiggle room for a week. So you could get into the good books of the production team as well. So one thing I would like to point out in the architectural review piece is when you're bringing in tailor-made software, be extra careful, because from the reputed vendors, the tools that are widespread, they do take security into consideration. When it comes to the tailor-made software, they do the solution to your requirement, and sometimes security is falling through the gaps. You need to make sure that the custom-made solution you are bringing in is adequately secured. With all that, now you can think about monitoring and responding, because if you do this early in the stage without any of the bits I have mentioned, you'll be doing nothing other than monitoring and responding, because you will be getting loads of errors, loads of alerts, and you don't know exactly what to do. So to get there, you need to have, when you're getting into monitoring and responding, you need to build up the capability, whether to have it build it in-house or you want to outsource. If you're outsourcing, what are the controls that you're taking? And also you need to get your log sources right. If the log sources you are getting your alerts from are not feeding the correct data, then again, you have a different problem. So also you need to identify what levels of exposure you need on alerting. Do you need to know when there is a server is running out of space? So if it is going down or failing over to the next one, if the failover is okay and there is nothing to worry about, Do you want to have it notified immediately, or do you want to wait till the next day morning? Or if one of your servers is getting a brute force attack, after how many hours of continuous attempts you want to get notified? Do you want to know when the first attack comes in, or after 5 incorrect password attempts, or do you want to wait out? So these things you need to think early and document. And to get it right, most importantly, you need to develop a set of playbooks. Without a set of playbooks, monitoring and responding is going to, again, in the water. You need to say, in this sort of situations, these are the steps to follow. In this sort of situations, these are the steps to follow. So get that right, and then get your monitoring and responding piece sorted. After you, a little addition, if you are a software development house, this is some side notes I want to mention. When you're integrating security into your process, make sure make sure to try to integrate that into your CI/CD pipeline, because when you integrate it early, as moving to the left, it's easier for you. If you have a SAST or DAST solution that's scanning every nightly build, the number of findings that you would see in a vulnerability report or pen test report at the end of the year, or once you deploy the solution, will be less. Because when you identify the error, security issue in the nightly build, you can fix it on the next day, next week, or the next month. But when you deploy the solution, or when you are ready to deploy the solution, when you find those, changing something to fix the security issue, you will be introducing some more issues. So that way you will be causing more and more problems rather than actually fixing it. So try to move it to the left, and try to get it integrated into your CI/CD pipeline, and get a SAST or DAST solution to your nightly builds. And then as a software development house, you could think whether you want to maintain a build server, or you want to have a spin up, compile and destroy sort of a build server. Because with the cloud capabilities now you have, that is a very good solution. This is a suggestion. This is a very good solution, because when you're maintaining a build server, you need to worry about patching and uptime and all that, and the maintenance of that server. But if you can move away from that and integrate your CI/CD pipeline, okay, in the night, every night at this time, we are supposed to build the existing code. At that point, you initiate a trigger to the cloud, build server in this configuration, and install all the dependencies that needed, and compile it. Once the compile is done, send the output and destroy that. That not only improve the security posture you have, it also helps you reduce the running costs in your operations. And if you are, when you are implementing that, the most of the time when I make that suggestion, people ask me, okay, what if that because of the constant patching, the level of the image we are using get unusable because of the new image? What if the compilation fails? Well, you can keep a snapshot of a working image. If at any point this one fails, you can fall back to the non-working snapshot. So something to think about if you are a development house and trying to integrate security into your CI/CD pipeline. And when you get those controls in place, then you can think of getting people involved and get people excited about the security. You can implement a system where peers can review peers' code. And also you could, if you have the money to spend on it, you could be having a leaderboard saying, okay, this is the person who reported most of the bugs, and this is the person who wrote this many lines of code with this many errors. People like to take pride in these things. Everybody like to, well, as we are geeks, we are taking pride in the good work we do, and when it's made visible to other people, it's good. It gives morale to the people. And security is not just a technical problem; it is a people problem too. if you plan to go the extra mile, if you want to get like a real throughput of security, then after you implement all the steps I have mentioned earlier, you can start doing in-house vulnerability scanning. Get something like Nessus or Qualys, install it in-house, have it scan your environment once a week or twice a week, whatever the frequency you think is adequate, and then you could fix those problems as and then they occur, eliminating the requirement when an external pen tester comes in and find those errors. Well, there won't be any errors well, there will be lesser errors for the external person to find when you are doing a job that is repeating weekly or bi-weekly or according to the schedule you have set up. And then you can think about red teaming, blue teaming exercises. This is, I'm talking about going the extra mile, by the way, guys. So to start with, you can bring an external team to do a red teaming exercise. And after you do it a couple of times, you can get the internal people excited about it and get a team to do, okay, this week we are doing this activity. So people get involved and they are getting excited about security as well. Well, when you're getting better at that, and then you can think of adversary simulations. So all that that needs to go step by step as you're getting better. And when you are in a stable position in security, these steps you need to take as the extra mile. And if you are a development house, the big advice I'm going to give here is do not, I mean, before getting all the previously mentioned steps in line and they're into a stable level, do not go into a bug bounty program. It will destroy you, because when you register for a bug bounty program, people will start reporting stuff. You need the mechanism in house and the manpower to say, okay, this is false positive, this is false positive, this is potentially attack. Even the potentially true ones, you need to investigate into. To do that, you need skilled developers and skilled technicians. So ideally, stay away from a bug bounty program if you have a massive budget to spend on. Yes, it is very good for PR, but PR could be hitting you back on the wrong side as well. So be very careful if you're thinking about going to a bug bounty. And all of these need to happen in a phased life cycle. If you try to implement all of that in one go, you will fail. If you have security controls, if you have mature security controls, you can think of the next one you can align to your organization. If you try to bring all of that in and say from tomorrow onwards, we are going to do all of these changes, people will need time to adjust. And when people can't compute, well, it's natural. When we can't understand that things, we try to ignore them. So get people to get into that mentality of, okay, this is important, we are doing this. And once they get used to it, bring another small piece. And one example I would like to share with you is the story of this tool called SEML, which is a product came out of the Oxford University, a very good tool that could be used in a development house. It claims it can detect 0 days before they happen, and to a level they are accurate. And this was acquired by Microsoft recently. The story is the tool is very good. It does what it claims to be doing, but an organization I know tried to integrate this into their environment, but unfortunately they were not adequately mature enough. They had a solution that has been developing for 5+ years, but the problem they had is set of developers did one piece and they have left, and the other people picked it up from where they left, and like that it carried on for a while. And but for SEML to get that tool to compile, it took them about a good year. So it's good when you think about cutting edge tools, but you have to ask the question, will this going to fit into my requirement? Is this going to give me any benefit? So before you go into solutions like that, try to come step by step. Make sure that you're where you are in a stable position. Only with a stable ground to stand on, you should be thinking about the next steps. by doing all that, what you're trying to do is, these are the technical controls. With all these technical controls, you are trying to get this the security mindset to a group norm. When I say a group norm, this is the group of people you're working with. You guys might remember when Apple removed the 3.5 jack from the iPhone a few years back, the backlash they got, the way people laugh at them, and the comments on YouTube videos people did, that was horrendous. But if you look at a phone came in the last year, how many of the phones that has a audio jack? So when you're trying to change things, when you're trying to go somewhere different, yes, you will get some pushbacks, but remember that when you manage to get enough people into that path, others will automatically follow. So try to get what you're trying to do into a group norm, get many people as you can to follow you, then you will be in a good position. With all that, the last thing, the most important thing you need to do is you have to start measuring positive numbers. So when you do all this good work, you need to make sure what you're doing is visible to both the upper management and to the people that you're working with. The problem with security is we talk about, okay, how many attacks we had last week, or how many breaches we had last month. We do not talk about how many attacks we have successfully defended. We did a awareness session, but after the awareness sessions, what is the outcome of it? So as security professionals, you need to start thinking about these metrics. So try to come up with a set of metrics and try to come up with a set of metrics that shows the number of attacks defended in the last month, and demonstrate to people a number of policy violations happened for the last month, and after this particular training session you did, how many policy violations you get, and the reduction of the issues you get. And most importantly, making that dashboard visible to everybody, both people up and the people you work with. That way, you are showing people that what you're doing is actually working. Please come join us. So embrace the security culture. Try to get security integrated early in the process, and try to get to people to follow you. Thank you, guys. Kanishka, Sithira, are you there?
Yes, Vasanta. We can move on to the question and answer session now, since I have received a couple of questions from the audience as well. First, I would like to raise this question. You were discussing retrofitting in security. What are the initiatives an organization take during an initial phase, like selecting proper controls for the organization?
Sorry, I didn't get the question, Kanishka.
Yes, you are discussing retrofitting in security, like what are the initiatives an organization can take during the initial phase of selecting proper security controls for the organization?
Well, but NIST, to start with, they have a very comprehensive documentation that you could follow if you are serious about security. First place I would visit is NIST. They have quite a bit of documented guidelines, hardening guides that you can download for free, and you could start following them. And it is coming from the US government itself.
Okay. There's another question. So, throwing money at the problem is not effective. Can you give some examples?
Yes. Okay. So usually when you talk about security, it's always there's not enough budget for you to get the next big security tool. But if you had a breach, if there is a big breach happening in a competitive organization, you suddenly start getting money that was not there. So this is the problem most of the security professionals face at least once in their lifetime. So when that happens, we lose track of what we were trying to do because of the abundant amount of money that comes your way. You had plans, but you've been deviating from them and trying to do something else. And now you're being given a buttload of money and asking to fix a problem that you've been trying to fix about 3 years ago. When that happens, the natural path we take is we try to go and buy the best security solution out there for us. In the process of doing that, we lose track of what is actually in our environment. So before we go and buy stuff, before we go for the best security solution, we need to find out if this security solution fits me. For example, let's say I was given a few $million and I want a car. If I go for a Ferrari, can I drive it? Can I maintain it daily? Can I at least get petrol for it? Or are the roads in Sri Lanka okay to drive a Ferrari? And the maintenance cost. What if something breaks? How am I going to have it repaired? So you need to think of all these surrounding questions before you go to a solution, spending all the money you have.
Okay, there's another question. What is the risk behind when we do bug bounty exercise to an organization?
Oh, there are loads. So if you are going for a bug bounty, if you have everything in all the security controls in place, and you're very confident that you have a very good security posture, just to do a PR awareness that we are this good, it's good to go for a bug bounty. Going for a bug bounty is saying, okay, find anything if you can, we are that good. That's the statement you are making. But if you are trying to start in security today and get people to say, okay, come find the bugs in our system, you will get bombarded with all the small stuff. And let's say if you have a cross-site scripting issue in your website or the tool you or SQL injection, well, 3 people or 5 people, 50 people will report that. When people are reporting that, it could be in different levels. That either that one person could be seeing it as the error throwing back, or when you're trying to perform an attack, they are getting something suspicious. They're flagging only the bit they can capture. So when people are coming with all of these requests, you need to have a mechanism that eliminate, okay, this is a false positive, this is a false positive, this is potentially okay. So without having a implementation like that, going for a bug bounty is, well, suicide.
Understand. There's another question. Policies and procedures are important. How can an information security professional make non-security people understand this?
Okay, that's a very good question, and it is very challenging. If you have a supporting C-level people or senior management, your job is very easy. But you can talk to them and make them integrate into their balanced scorecard. Okay, security is this level in our requirement sheet. But if you're having pushbacks from the upper management as well, and you're not getting any support, this could become a very hard task. So the policy definition comes from the C-level. Okay, if you're not in C-level, all you can do is push C-level people to understand that this is the requirement of it. If you can't make them understand, well, I would go as far as try to look away and not do security, or try to find a different job. Not a different job, different workplace. Because if you can't make an effective change, there's no point you trying to just waste your time there. If this C-level people can't understand the importance of the security, I think any security professional's talent would be wasted.
All right. Another question. Having an asset list of the organization is critical. How can this be done easily when there are large and complex systems in the organization? Also, what is the best software for asset inventory? Like you can mention some examples.
To start with, I can't recommend any software because with the softwares I have worked with, I can't say, okay, this is a good one. With all the different tools, they have their ups and downs. And in the initial question, you ask what is the asset inventory can be done, and you use the adjective easily. This is not something you can do easily in a complex organization. You need to do it in a phased manner. You need the full support of the network team, because you don't, if you don't know where your boxes are, it's a very hard task. But with cooperation from the network team, you could at least see, okay, traffic is going this way. You can start hunting subnet by subnet. What are the devices in this subnet, and which ones are up? From that point, you could say by 20th of August, this is the asset list we have. And you do the same exercise a month later, and then you compare the two lists. There you can find out, okay, there are some of the boxes that were visible in the August asset list is missing from the September one. What happened to them? You could start to exercise there, but unfortunately, it is not an easy task when you're a big organization. And if you're trying to do it easily, well, there is no easy way of doing it, I'm afraid.
All right. In a SOC operation, how can one effectively monitor critical security incidents with loads of alerts generating from log sources?
Before we go to SOC, as I mentioned in the presentation, you need to have so many other steps completed. SOC is like a burglar alarm system. Before you set up a burglar alarm system in your house, you need to make sure all the other controls were put in place. If a burglar alarm system works, if you have sensors inside the house, if it detects something's inside, it just beeps, okay? So before you start doing that, very first, you need to have your door shutters, your window shutters. Then you need to make sure at least you have a fence around your perimeter, and there should be a gate. Like that, in security, you need to have the other compensating controls before you go straight into a SOC. If you go straight into a SOC, you won't do anything other than just attending to those alerts, because you will get so much almost all the time. When you have all those other controls, you could eliminate, okay, because of this, I can deprioritize this. Because of this and that, I could deprioritize that. That way, you could attend to the most important ones first, then you could eliminate the deprioritized ones, and then you can put additional controls to make them ineffective as you go along.
There's one more question from the audience. That is, when considering awareness, what would be the best method to conduct sessions? Example, classroom, online remote sessions, in your opinion?
To the best you can, make them interactive. Because when you're doing a session like this, you don't know how many people are falling asleep. I can't see the audience. I could be preparing the presentation to the best I can and using all the presentation techniques, but I don't know what's the environment they're listening in from. They could be falling asleep. So when we are doing an awareness session for an organization, it is best to get people in a room and do it interactively. You need to get people to understand, ask them questions, explain a piece, and then get the people to talk and make it interactive to the best you can. Then people get talking. What we need to do is, we tell something and people understand it, is not that. We need to get people thinking and them talking to their colleagues. Okay, but this is this, what if this happens? Okay, let's ask the other guy. We need to make that hype within the people. That's the only way we could actually properly secure an environment.
All right. That's about it, Lasantha. I think we have answered all the questions from the audience, and it's over to Sidira to continue with the agenda.
Thanks, Kanishka.
Thank you, Kanishka. And I would like to thank all the participants who joined in Sri Lanka, as well as the international participants from ISACA, as well as other organizations for joining with us for today's session. And we have a small announcement. We are supporting for ISACA Singapore chapter. They have their annual conference. Actually, it was planned to have it in a few months ago, but due to the COVID, it got postponed, and now it's going as a 100% virtual event. It's called GTEC 2020. It's coming on 28th of August this month, and ISACA Sri Lanka chapter is very happy to be a partner of ISACA Sri Lanka Singapore chapter, and will be supporting their event. So all the event details are in our ISACA website, isaca.lk, as well as all the details are in Facebook as well as our LinkedIn profiles. So you can go to these places, as well as you can get the information about GTEC 2020. The main theme is cyber resilience to confidence. So we like to see you in a next event. So ISACA will be conducting many events. We are generally planning to have about 4 events every month. Since we cannot have any physical events, most of the event will be virtual, and we'll be partnering with different organizations to conduct many events. Thank you everyone for participating, and over to you, Kanishka.
Thank you, Sithira. It has been a wonderful session today, and I must thank ISACA Sri Lanka chapter for providing us the platform to conduct this session, and we would like to continue this session in the coming months as well. And also I must thank Lasantha for a very informative and very interesting session conducted today. And I think I certainly learned a lot of things, and I hope the audience as well. There were it was very interactive, and there were quite a number of questions from the audience to seek knowledge on the session. So thank you everybody, and have a good night.